Post-apocalyptic cinema comes after the apocalypse, which more often than not tends to be some kind of nuclear event, has been seen to be some kind of genetic or biological disturbance. Generally it focuses on a society building itself up from nothing, which usually involves wearing mullets and running about deserts killing people.
Is Europe's disease carried on the wind? Is it, Ben?
One of the themes that runs through all of these films is paranoia. In movie terms, especially in science fiction / horror movie terms, paranoia began in 1958 because that's when the Russians launched Sputnik. The Last Man on Earth is based on Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend, which looks at a world where there's been some kind of plague which has killed most of humanity, and those that haven't died have turned into zombie, blood-sucking, vampire-type ghouls.
One of the things about this movie is that the zombies and Vincent Price himself are incredibly fey. He's a great villain, but as a hero, there's something sort of awkward and ungainly about him.
I just think Vincent Price, though, missed his forte. He was a great silent movie actor, because he's got the eyes, you know, it's always in the eyes, he always seems to be gazing into the sunny uplands of something.
But I think, though, the most startling thing for me is to see Vincent Price playing a so-called normal man with a wife and child. I mean, normally he's sort of loudly declaiming in a very stagey style in a gothic horror.
He's very bad at running.
He is.
For a man of his age, he's
His
not
arms are up there.
limber.
His arms are up there.
You're thinking that's possibly the only American movie star of the 50s that never played high school football.
But I think part of the attraction of zombies is that they are crap, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, you can push them over and stuff. You know, right up until the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and they started to get a bit more proactive then, didn't they?
I love the role that science takes, you know, because in those days, if you look at films in that period where radiation is kind of like the new magic, you know, Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider. And in this one, this implicit faith that science, having caused the problem, will then find a way out of it.
That's one of the things I think that all these movies and all this type of movies share, and I think it's a flaw that they share as well, is that there's an element of wish fulfillment, there's an element of fantasy fulfillment in those early days. Yeah. And it's great. I mean, and you know, in all those situations, like nobody else around, it's fantastic, but it's fantastic up to a point.
But it's a fairy thing at the start. It's like a great thing because you kind of thinking, oh yeah, what would I do then if I could do anything? You know, it'd be like standing astride a London bus, driving it with like 2 wires on it, dressed in a big fur coat with 3 hats on, swigging from a massive magnum of champagne or something.
I think for audiences at that point, you know, even post-Psycho, I think it's still quite a disturbing film.
There's no comfort for them, is there?
You know, it's actually a British script, isn't it? It was a Hammer script originally. But one of the reasons why it's bleak is because it's kind of an American movie but made in Italy with an Italian crew, and they don't have that morality at all. The cinema doesn't have that.
I think that does explain a lot about, I think amorality, well, it's a phrase you can use with all the films, but particularly, you know, I don't think maybe a film like that could have come out of Hollywood at that time.
The whole sort of fear of the unknown and inability to deal with things you can't see, and inability to deal with things in the abstract really informs all of these films and is probably articulated most specifically in Threads.
Threads is basically the most violent kitchen sink drama in the world. It does begin like an episode of Coronation Street. There's a family whose lives we pop in and out of. 20 minutes into this domestic drama, a nuclear bomb goes off. And all our characters are thrown into this completely other world where life is cheap and Granny gets rolled in a carpet. I was staying with my parents in a holiday cottage somewhere, and it was one of those places that had just a piece of card for the wall, and they told me that I wasn't allowed to watch it. So the first time I experienced Threads, I just heard the soundtrack, and I soiled myself. I mean, it was absolutely the most terrifying thing in the world. I mean, one of the great things about Threads, and I suppose it's the great thing about all great television, is it provokes a lot of discussion. And I remember at the end of it, my mum and dad were sitting chatting, and my mum, in a wee trusting way, said, "So, Robert, what would happen if there was an apocalypse?" And my father, who's like, you know, is the centre of my world, said, "Well, Jan, we'd go down to the cellar and we'd die." and it was for the first time in my life I realised that, you know, that they didn't have control of the world, and so I became a total nuclear paranoia person. My favourite moment in the whole thing is when the soldiers are fighting with people about a bag of crisps. The characters are absolutely human.
Yeah.
There's not a single
Yeah.
fictional character, if you see what I mean.
And there's no flowery dialogue. The characters hardly speak unless it's just some sort of interaction with each other.
It's not unlike the royal family in some ways. Punishment, isn't it? It's someone holding your face and saying, you will watch this. You
feel
will
like that.
understand this.
Because this poor woman who's dragging herself around these ruins is going to give birth to a deformed, mutated baby, and she doesn't. But then it continues. And then her daughter has a baby, and then you see opening the shawl and see the blood, and it's like, oh no, I've given birth to a ginger. Well, you don't see what it is, but it's something horrendous. The examples they give of what happens after a nuclear bomb's drop is still harrowing, you know. But you get to see it all in stages, it's not just alluded to. And so, you know, and these sort of nuclear families, if you excuse the pun, it works really well, doesn't it? Because you kind of you're watching it just thinking, yeah, that's just like my nan, you know, just shot herself.
I think it's exactly like if if this was happening, you would be sitting watching the BBC to see what they got to say about it, and that's exactly what they would be saying. So.
I think the most disturbing thing about Threads is that you couldn't make it now, and there doesn't seem to be this drive, this public service drive anymore. In the mid '80s, with Thatcher in Downing Street and Reagan in the White House, it was a reality, the fact that we might all be consumed in a nuclear holocaust. So Threads sort of dealt with those fears in an unflinching, an uncompromising way. Looking back on it and watching it again after, 20 years, I mean, it's a great piece of work, but I still feel faintly embarrassed that we allowed ourselves to be so panicked that we felt it necessary to make a film like Threads.
I mean, it might be that Threads actually contributed to the fact that we aren't so paranoid now, you know, and in the sense that it actually helped us to understand the mutually assisted destruction, MAD, as it was called.
Yeah. Certainly, the level of paranoia and the level of fears, you're right, is completely changed, but I mean, I'm still frightened of that. Although, obviously, terrorists never managed to do anything that spectacular, that's obviously what the ultimate threat of terrorism is Threads, I think.
The dirty bomb.
You know? Yeah.